High in the Himalayas, where the air is thin and the mountains pierce the sky, a tragedy unfolded in June 2020. Indian and Chinese soldiers clashed in a brutal fight, resulting in the deaths of 20 Indian soldiers. The world watched with bated breath as two nuclear-armed powers engaged in a tense standoff on the roof of the world. This wasn't just a border skirmish, it was a stark reminder of the fragility of peace and the potential for regional conflicts to escalate. This incident, while shocking, was not entirely surprising. India and China, two of the world's most populous nations, share a long and contentious border. The unmarked line of actual control, stretching over 2,000 miles, has been a source of tension and mistrust for decades. This latest clash served as a potent reminder of the unresolved issues that continue to simmer between these Asian giants. To understand the gravity of the 2020 clash, one must delve into the historical tapestry of Sino-Indian relations. The border dispute itself is rooted in the colonial past. The McMahon Line, a boundary proposed by British colonial administrator Henry McMahon in 1914, has been a point of contention. India recognizes the McMahon Line as the legitimate boundary, while China rejects it, claiming large swathes of territory within India's Arunachal Pradesh state. Adding to the complexity, the 1962 Sino-Indian War, a humiliating defeat for India, continues to cast a long shadow. While skirmishes and standoffs have occurred intermittently since then, the 2020 clash was the deadliest in over 4 decades. It shattered a period of relative calm, raising concerns about a potential escalation of tensions between the two Asian giants. On the night of June 15, 2020, in the Galwan Valley of Ladakh, a remote and treacherous region, Indian and Chinese troops engaged in a violent hand-to-hand combat. Reports suggest that the clash was triggered by disagreements over Chinese military construction activities in the disputed territory. What began as a tense confrontation quickly spiraled into a brutal fight involving rocks, clubs, and even nail-studded rods. The darkness and the high altitude exacerbated the chaos. When the dust settled, 20 Indian soldiers lay dead, with Chinese casualties also reported, though the exact number remains undisclosed by Beijing. The incident sent shockwaves through India, triggering a wave of national mourning and anti-China sentiment. Section 4. Shifting Sands of Power. The 2020 clash occurred against a backdrop of shifting geopolitical dynamics. China, under the leadership of Xi Jinping, has become increasingly assertive on the global stage, flexing its military and economic muscle. India, meanwhile, has sought to counter China's growing influence by strengthening its own military capabilities and forging strategic partnerships with countries like the United States, Japan and Australia. This clash, therefore, can be seen as a manifestation of the broader competition between these two Asian giants. It highlighted the potential for miscalculation and the risk of escalation in the context of a power rivalry. The incident served as a wake-up call for the international community, underscoring the need for dialogue and diplomacy to prevent such clashes from spiraling out of control. Section 5. Echoes in the Valley. The echoes of the Galwan Valley clash continue to reverberate. Both India and China have increased their military presence along the LAC, deploying troops, artillery and fighter jets. The risk of another confrontation remains high, with neither side willing to back down. The incident has also had wider geopolitical ramifications. It has pushed India closer to the United States and its allies, further solidifying the emerging alliance to counter China's growing assertiveness. The clash has also exposed the limitations of existing mechanisms to manage the border dispute, highlighting the urgent need for a more robust and effective framework for dialogue and de-escalation. Section 6. A World on Edge. The India-China border clash is a stark reminder that we live in an interconnected world. What happens in the Himalayas does not stay in the Himalayas. It has implications for regional stability, global power dynamics, and the rules-based international order. The incident underscores the importance of diplomacy, dialogue and mutual understanding in navigating the complexities of international relations. As we move forward, it is crucial to remember the lessons of the Galwan Valley clash. The world cannot afford a conflict between India and China. It is in everyone's interest to encourage dialogue, de-escalate tensions, and find a peaceful resolution to the border dispute. The future of peace and stability in Asia and indeed the world may depend on it.